Good morning. You are listening to the Daily Huddle. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Saurel Quettan. I host Mondays along with Giovanni Gonzalez, who's not present this morning, but ever so present right here in spirit. He is the co-founder of the Daily Huddle, and I am so proud to be his partner. Today's conversation is for you, a business owner, you in a perfect relationship that you love, but especially you in corporate America, dealing with a team of people, and there is a cancer eating away at performance on your team, and you don't know what it is. And yet, it is right there, ever so present. And it's been present since you were a little boy or a little girl. I'll give you a hint. It's not incompetence. The organizations don't crumble the way they crumble under this cancer because of incompetence. In fact, the people involved in perpetuating it, the cancer, are very competent, sometimes the most qualified ever. And it's not burnout. Guess what? The people who are perpetuating this cancer, unbeknownst to them, by the way, I'm not pointing at people in corporate America or people on your teams or you in your relationships as someone who's bad and who is purposefully killing performance on your teams. I'm pointing to something that is in our blind spot as human beings. And today, you have the opportunity to discover it. And I'm going to blurt it out right now. The cancer that is eating away at performance on your teams, in your relationships, and in your companies is gossip. Yeah, it is gossip. And the worst part, we often don't see that it's eating away at us until it's too late, because the structure of it is so comfortable that it runs away with the organization and the organization's performance, the organization's ability to serve its customers, you having the ability in your relationship to be close to another inside of trust and alignment. It eats away at it so slowly, so methodically that often you don't see it. Now, I'll tell you a little story from my childhood, because the way gossip eats away at companies is the same way that it eats away at our relationships when we're teenagers. Imagine this. I had this very good friend named Claude, and Claude and I had a pact. Man, we were special to each other. And you know what? How we demonstrate our specialness to each other is that he protects me against others, and I protect him against others. And this is how it goes. Claude would come to me and say, "Oh my God, you wouldn't believe what Nene said about you." And I'm only telling you this because I'm your good friend. I'm special to you. And I want to protect you against him. And as a child, as a teenager, we subscribe to this. My job in a friendship with you, my job in a relationship with you is to protect you, protect your reputation against any harm that others could do to it, your reputation, or to you by speaking about you. And guess what? Given that I'm special to you and this relationship cannot survive outside of our specialness, I was compelled to do the same thing for Claude. So when Miriam said something about Claude, I ran straight to Claude and told Claude what Miriam was saying about him. And that was my way of proving not only my worth in the relationship, but also showing my loyalty. I'm protecting him against the world. And guess what? In that kind of relationship, we have no choice but to band together and protect us, our special relationship, against all others, against all threats. And folks, while I'm talking about child's play, fortunately or unfortunately, this is the way it rolls in corporate America. This is the way it rolls in your companies. This is the way it rolls in your most cherished relationships. So this morning, we're discovering exactly that. Now, what do you say is the impact? You know, when Claude would come to me to protect me against Nene, inevitably, I could feel anger boiling inside of me. And very subtle, at the end of the conversation, whatever it was, I could feel a little bit of resentment for Claude for even telling me. So imagine this happening on your teams. And believe me, it does happen. And all you have is an underlying hum of anger and resentment between team members who are working really hard to be special for each other inside of a small clique or a one-to-one relationship, banding together against the rest of the world. Folks, that's the everyday setup of what happens in organizations. It happens at the water cooler. It happens on a hush-hush phone conversation. It happens in meetings when team members lean and whisper in one another's ears. It happens in the boardroom when someone stays silent and doesn't say what they want to say, and then they say it when the meeting's over in a one-to-one. You know, like it's on a need-to-know basis. So what suffers is what always suffers. People who could communicate to each other in a way that's direct and straight don't communicate. So that communication that is absent delays decision. Those decisions that are delayed, delay an actual action that needs to be taken to deliver something to a team member, to deliver something to a customer. So the performance of the organization, the performance of that team follows a downward spiral that is anchored in what I believe or team members believe is their duty to protect each other and protect the relationship they have against the world. That's the model. It's normal for a human being. And that's what makes it an invisible cancer that eats away at the organization. So, fortunately, there is a courageous cure. You and your relationships, you as the leader of a large team in a company, you as the owner of your company can cure this cancer. And the cure is really simple, really straightforward. I'm introducing this practice because you see, in my relationship with Claude, there's me, person A, there's Claude, person B, talking about Miriam, person C. Miriam's not there. In fact, person C is never there. And we're talking about her. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the classic form of gossip. When person A is speaking to person B about person C, and person C is not present. Now, guess what? Whether I'm saying something negative or positive about person C, it has the same impact. I'm either elevating someone who's not there in my speaking, or I'm debasing and diminishing someone who's not there in my speaking. Either way, the relationship I'm creating isn't on solid ground. It's anchored in this. I'm going to trust you because you're protecting me. I'm going to trust you because we're in a special relationship. And yet, on the back end, I don't know if I can really trust you because the way you are with me is probably the way you are with others when I'm not around. So it creates this resentment that erodes a trust, and then everyone on the team lives inside of what is a replica, a bad one at that, of trust that doesn't really serve anyone. So here's the cure. If you are person A and person B comes to you to say something about person C, stop the action, do nothing else, and say nothing else until you pick up the phone or grab someone by the hand and walk them to where person C is and say, why don't we have this conversation together? This is a simple cure, but guess what? I call it the courageous cure, because in life, in real life, in organizations, when someone comes to me or someone comes to you to say something about someone else, our tendency is to run with it. In fact, that's the way our society works. We survive because we exist to protect one another from real or imagined danger. And that danger is never here where we are. That danger is always with somebody else, the one we're talking about who's not there. So guess what? How you cure the cancer is simple. Never, ever allow a conversation to happen that is about someone else without that someone else being present. And now there's a whole host of yeah buts that you can have. Well, what if it's on a need to know basis? What if we're making a decision about either hiring or firing or promoting that person? You can pretend that keeping it a secret is what works, but you know. In fact, what I am doing when I do that, and maybe what you're doing when you do that, is simply perpetuating the specialness of relationships, just like how special I am to Claude and how special he is to me. In preserving our relationship as special, we diminish all others, all other relationships. And so the currency we call trust, the currency we call alignment, what we call being able to collaborate with each other, is then conditional. There is nothing that is there for its own sake. I trust you because you're special to me. I'm aligning with you because that's what special friends do with each other. I'm collaborating with you because it's expected in our relationship. All of it built on a foundation that's built on nothing but shifting sand. You, my friend, you cannot sustain high performance in the presence of gossip in the organization. And with the simple cure, you can create an environment that begins to create a culture of ownership. You shift the culture from fear to ownership. When you share a single habit and create inside of your organization, inside of your team, the habit of engaging person C every time, it creates a space where people feel psychologically safe. It creates a space where you and others are continually being guided, pushed, encouraged to have a conversation you may be unwilling to have. And a conversation I'm unwilling to have, folks, is my access to practicing having emotional intelligence. Because you see, I was not born emotionally intelligent. I was born with a brain, and my brain reacts to protect me from danger. In fact, gossip is part of the deal. So when I bring person C in, I'm actually confronting what has always been there, and thereby practicing having emotional intelligence. And doing that is also an act of what I call radical responsibility. Can you imagine this? Here we are, teenagers. Claude comes to me. He wants to say something about Nene. And I say, hey, Claude, stop for a moment. This is not how we roll. Why don't we walk over right where Nene is standing, right down the street, and have this conversation with him? Now, I don't know what that would have created back then. Sheesh, I was 10 years old. But I know, I have a feeling that it would have created a solid friendship between the three of us. Because even though I loved Nene, even though I loved Claude, there was always this wedge between us. And that wedge was nothing more, nothing less than the presence of gossip and its impact on our relationship. See, I thought to love Nene was not appropriate because it would impinge and impact my specialness to Claude. And Claude thought the same thing about me and Nene. I thought the same thing about him and Miriam. So even relationships became conditional. And you know what? In a space where I allow a conversation to go on without person C being present, there's no access to authentic communication. I'm always going to hold just a little bit back to make sure that I stay in control, to make sure that my reputation is protected, to make sure that I get to survive in the construct. So there is nothing about what I'm doing that's actually about protecting Claude. No, it's all about protecting me and my ability to survive and maybe thrive in that organization. And the thriving I'm talking about is nothing more, nothing less than my becoming astute and skilled at navigating what we call politics. And I do that with the help of a few friends that commiserate or plot or create together with me a wall of protection that rises us all up. But when we rise alone. And that's how silos get created in organization. This is how high performance gets dismantled. So the simple cure is the access to high performance. The simple cure of calling person C and engaging them in the conversation is how high performance cultures are built. One person, one conversation, one team at a time. There's no amount of motivational speaking that's going to give you that. Only those courageous conversations. And person C is your access to those courageous conversations. Now, I want to pause for a moment. All of us have been teenagers, right? And all of us have worked in an organization of some sort, even your churches. And you may have observed in a benign way and in a way that treats it as something innocent. Because you see, gossip is indeed innocent in the world of a teenager. That's how we survive. That's how we grow. That's how we create friends. That's how you capture the attention of your first girlfriend. You know, all of that. And then we grow up and we go into an organization like a Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 company. And we've never changed. I am, you are, they are still the 10 to 13-year-olds working to survive in an organization relying on specialness and gossip to keep me alive, keep me thriving. So I'd love to hear from you. Tell me, what about gossip in your life, in your world, and what is this bringing up for you? Kurt, you here. Sue, you may not be able to speak, but Molly, I'd love to hear from you. What about gossip that you see in your relationships, in the places where you've worked, that is indeed the cancer that robs us of the performance that we can have. And whether you're able to speak or not, hey, Sue, there you are. You're driving and you're speaking. Oh, my God. Are you safe?
I'm good. I'm just left home. I'm in our subdivision here. Uh, so when you talk about silos, it's actually kind of hitting home because I work at a university, and since I've started there, that's been a concept that I hear over and over because we're not a real large university. We're big enough that we don't all know each other on campus, but the consistent thing is everybody works in silos. Like, why is it so hard to communicate across campus? Why is it so hard to get something done? It's like you have to know the right person in order to get the right thing accomplished. And that's when you're talking about silos. I'm like, I'm relating to that pretty hard. And how to
You know,
improve that, it's always been the big question of, and it seems like it should be so simple, but it's not. There's a lot to it.
well, it might be really simple. You and I, you were raised the same way I was raised, and the professors and administrators in your school were raised the same way. Life works when I have special relationships. And the only way my relationships remain special is if I keep them away from you.
Yeah,
You get that?
I
So
do.
in teams, and let's just take your university as an example. In teams, uh, I I I gravitate toward what I call my tribe. The people who think like me, the people who speak like me, maybe they like the same hamburgers, they like to go to the same restaurant. We develop this affinity, and the way we protect ourselves against the rest of the world is by forming this special relationship. And yet, while that special relationship may be the perfect thing in a marriage, on teams, it's devastating. Because, Sue, if you're special to me, guess what I'm going to do? In order to remain loyal to you, any others who come against the invisible barrier that creates that specialness will just bump off. And then they have to actually pay to play. And how they pay is by proving themselves special. Unfortunately, though, they can't. Because if they could prove themselves specials, it would actually impact your being special or my being special. So, and I see that over and over in organizations, and I'm pointing to it today and using the teenage analogy to make us laugh at it, maybe, but to actually see how pervasive it is. And you talk about the difficulty you bump into to communicate across campus. And it's a small campus, right? That's the structure that makes it difficult. Now, imagine for a moment you said to yourself, I'm not special. Neither are the people I consider special. And the next time somebody comes to me to say something about someone else who's not there, I'm going to call that person, or I'm going to walk over to that person while holding the hand of the person who came to me, and we go create team. The natural tendency in relationships and organizations is to honor the special conversation. I rely on that special conversation for my special relationship with you, and it kills everybody else. So, who's not special to you on campus that you may go visit today?
Ooh, I have to think of that one. Yeah.
Yeah, because the tendency, Sue, is to stay in my special cocoon. And there's nothing wrong with that. And venturing out and deliberately creating relationships outside of that cocoon begins to establish a culture where what's special isn't my relationship with you. What's special is what we're out to accomplish together. And so many times that gets completely lost and upended by what's special just to me and you. And I hope that, not hope, I mean for this to be a wake-up call for all organizations, churches, universities, companies, small or large, marriages. The people who come to you to prove their friendship by telling you something about somebody else may not really be your friends. And they are. They're special to you. And I'm inviting you to dismantle that specialness by taking one step, one easy step. Whenever person C who's not there, who's being talked about, call person C, bring person C in the conversation, and create a space where people are not talked about. They're talked to. Yeah, let's talk to each other. And if you're a leader in the organization like you are, Sue, guess what? It starts with you. Make it personal. You know, go to another and share a moment where you're being special and another being special really hampered the ability of the entire organization to communicate and do things and deliver things with velocity. It sounds like an oversimplification, but I guarantee you it's not. What else do you want to say about that, Sue, if anything?
Well, it is that moment of, when you're in the middle of things, it seems so complicated and so hard to overcome. But when you take a step back and really look at it and take kind of that bird's eye view of what's all happening, it's not that hard. It is simple. It just takes that action in the right direction and just taking that step back and thinking about it a moment instead of dwelling on the problem. Look for that solution because it's there. You just gotta look a little.
Yeah. And what keeps us from looking is a conversation that I'm unwilling to have with somebody who's not present. Yeah. At least that's what I'm saying in this conversation. Dude, thank you for engaging. Thank you for making it real. And thank you for being here as always. Yeah. The Daily Huddle is a space where we get to play with ideas in such a way that those ideas leave us empowered to create a better world, a better team, better relationships. You'll hear Giovanni and I say over and over, great organizations are made up of very strong relationships, and strong relationships rely on effective communication. And effective communication is impossible unless I'm practicing having emotional intelligence. And my access to practicing having emotional intelligence is a conversation I'm unwilling to have, or one I've been avoiding, whether consciously or unconsciously. And person C in the gossip triangle is your access to that conversation. This is your Daily Huddle for today, folks. I'll end with our 8 tenets. And guess what? You may pretend to love. You could be laughing out loud. You could be stressing less. You could be eating mostly plant-based. You could give of your heart and give of everything you have. You could be sleeping well. And you could be moving your body and exercising. Consider that your access to doing all of that freely is you eradicating gossip from the midst in your organizations, in your churches, in your company, in your personal relationships. This is your Daily Huddle. I will see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. Tara's on, and she's got a good one for you. So 9 a.m. right here on the Daily Huddle with Tara Heaton tomorrow morning. Until then, folks,